iced teas. But your buddy's worse off and he throws you his car keys. Blue lights are blinking 4 o'clock in the morning. State trooper makes you wish that you'd never been born. Better call Saul, better call Saul.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is It's All Good, Man, the better. Better Call Saul podcast. I'm Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Dave. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. My pot's kind of empty today.
See, look, that's going to be it's going to make sense in a minute.
Yeah.
Dave and I, in the off season, we've been working really hard to do something special for you guys. And 2 weeks ago, we talked to Ray Seahorn, who plays Kim Wexler on Better Call Saul. Great interview. So if you haven't heard that, please look back on your feed or on itsallgoodman.com or over at our other podcast, Nothing Important or nothingimportantpodcast.com, and listen to the interview. It was a lot of fun. And Dave and I, as we say here, just got off the phone about maybe 15 minutes ago with Julianne Emery, who is who, Dave?
Betsy Kettleman.
Betsy Kettleman herself.
That's right.
Talked to us for like a good 20 minutes. A very funny person. She was more than happy to speak with us.
Yeah, very, very cool.
We learned some nice little tidbits, just like the last interview she gave, we asked her what it was like when she got the call that she was like part of the show. And again, it's a funny story about how she was just in a weird situation when she got the call and couldn't express her excitement.
It's like everybody so far, both the interviews have had an interesting story about when they were notified that they got the gig.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved, she told us a little bit about the process, and I loved how she said that there was actually dialogue written during the scene that you couldn't hear when they were admonishing the kids after Mike stole the money.
Yeah, that was pretty cool because that's not the only scene like that, and it was cool to find out that yes, actually every time that they show people talking, they actually write dialogue. They're not just pantomiming some BS.
She also talked about how like they improvise and her and Jeremy Shamus
in and out of scenes.
And develop the character. So I hope you enjoy the interview with Julianne Emery, Betsy Kettleman. We're going to keep trying to do these fun little things. It's probably not going to be every week because I guess that's just the way it goes with TV based podcasts. But while you're waiting for us to release these interviews and release our sporadic shows in the off season for It's All Good Men, hop over to nothingimportantpodcast.com. If you haven't, we actually do a lot of great interviews over there as well. We've talked to Kaylee Milliken, who's producing a documentary on Yelp and their business practices called
Taking Down the Big Man
called $1 Billion Bully. We've talked to Greg Johnson, who created the classic video game Toe Jam and Earl. We also got just people that are very passionate about their industries, like C-Note from Two White Crew and Chris from Devil's Trumpet Brewing in Maryville, Indiana, and
Eric from Tugboat Coffee.
Coffee.
And all these people quit really good jobs to pursue their dreams, and it's amazing to hear these interviews.
And it's amazing, and you definitely want to hear that. We're going to keep working hard for you. We got great stuff coming up. Please tell your friends about both of our podcasts. Please, if you're not on our Twitter or Facebook, do that so you'll be the first to know about the interviews and such.
I thought you were going to say do that. You'll be first to tweet us.
You'll be the first to tweet us. We need some Twitter love, okay? Everybody has awesome Twitters except for us. I'll be honest, I don't know how to do that shit, so maybe if you guys start hitting us up on Twitter, I can figure it out.
Or if you want to be our social media person.
Yeah, it was something. So, but again, thank you for being so awesome and giving us the opportunity to do this for you. You guys are all kick-ass. Anything else, Dave? Okay, so enjoy it. Julianne Emery, Betsy Kettleman from Better Call Saul. We'll talk to you soon.
This one's for the kettleheads.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the Someone Important hotline, it's Betsy Kettleman herself, Julianne Emery. Julie, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled to have you, and then we kind of touched on this before. I just did the intro for everybody out there listening. Once again, I want to publicly apologize for pestering Julie on Twitter. I got to be honest, Julie, I have no idea how Twitter works. We have like 15 followers, and it's not because we have 15 listeners. It's just because I have no idea how to get like followers and how to do the whole like favorite tweet and retweet stuff. And I'll get like my own retweets, and I'm like, did I just send that to myself? Like,
yeah, you know what? I really enjoy Twitter, but I'm not sure that I'm a genius at it either. But the first thing is, you say your tag every time you guys do a podcast, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we can't read it. We're nerds.
I like it. I like it. I like being able to talk to people in a. This is gonna sound weird, in a safe environment. Mm-hmm. I like being able to converse with fans of shows, and I'm a fan of other things, and I like being able to find like-minded groups. I like Twitter. I think it's fun.
Awesome.
I'm a little behind on it, but I'm starting to get into it because Brian will send me things and I just be like, I can't read this. I don't know what you're trying to say. So you're the social media guy. I make it sound good. You know?
Like, I don't know. I click like this little star and then a 1 appeared. So I think that means that I gave it like a point. Like, I have no idea how this works. Well, awesome. Once again, thank you for hanging out with us. And what we wanted to talk about, Dave and I, obviously, because we have the podcast, The Saul Goodman. I don't know if you checked it out, and I don't expect you to, but we've got.
I have checked it out.
Oh, awesome! Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we didn't say anything too offensive or stupid.
I'm sure that we did, but we appreciate you checking it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I love it. It's great.
And in Better Call Saul, your portrayal of Betsy Kettleman was super memorable, and fans seem to both love and hate that character.
Kind of love to hate that character. I love to hate that character.
And there's actually a term for the fans of Betsy Kettleman, the Kettleheads.
Yes, that's true. There is a group called the Kettleheads. I love it. I love it so much. They're great. And sometimes they hashtag give themselves Team Kettleman as well. But there's a Facebook group, there's a Twitter group. It's really cool. It's not what you expect with a character like Betsy, right?
That's what we were thinking.
I feel like it was when I was a little kid, my mom was way into Dallas. And I feel like it's a little bit like JR on Dallas. Like, everyone kind of loves to hate JR or enjoyed talking about how insane he was, or it's great. I love Betsy. I don't think we've really quite had a woman like her on television. I feel really lucky that she was entrusted to me.
Right, and it really shows in your performance. It seems like you just dive head in with it, and when you get a reaction from fans like that, and they're creating like Facebook pages and fan pages, that's just got to be like an incredibly great validation of your work.
I think it's a validation of the work of the entire group. Mm-hmm. I'm really flattered and thrilled to have people liking my performance on it for sure. But the writing is so wonderful. They took the character they really took what I sort of brought to it and ran with it in their own direction and took her to such a great place. Even the breakdown in 107 in the house was a gift. It gave another dimension to her. So I think even all the way to Jennifer Bryan's great costumes, like they start out kind of ill-fitting, like Betsy knows that she's a politician's wife and she's supposed to go buy a skirt suit, but she buys it in lime green and it doesn't quite fit right. So there's such a happy team effort going on there that I think it's a really nice recognition for the whole group. It's lovely.
Yeah,
that's a great politically correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually mean that. That's not true all the time when you're on television, but it's true in this case. Like in the first episode, Vince Gilligan directed it, and Sony and AMC were gracious enough to give us extra time to shoot the first episode, and so we explored the characters on set. That whole thing where the Kettlemans sort of finish each other's sentences is we found with Vince on set. That sort of Altman-like thing where we talk over each other, and that's such a relationship thing. I mean, that indicates relationship without ever having to use exposition for it. So it really was a group effort. That said, I was obsessed when we were shooting with Betsy. I was, when I wasn't there, when I wasn't on set, I was obsessed with like the Governor McDonald trial with he and his wife in Virginia, and I've reached back for like the Bell County scandal in California, like people who really believe they did nothing wrong, and like right up to the very end, like still believe they did nothing wrong, and if it is illegal, it shouldn't be. So I became fascinated with like real life examples of it. I was watching all of these YouTube videos of people who seem nice on the outside, but you look at them and go, who is buried in your backyard? And there are real people putting themselves on YouTube this way. It's crazy. Wow. So it was, I did become Betsy obsessed for sure. I mean, lucky for my husband, I'm not actually Betsy in real life, but I did become Betsy obsessed for sure.
You're the original Kettlehead.
I am the original Kettlehead. Yeah, Jeremy Shamus and I got really dorky about it. We would send each other videos. We would send each other articles. It was the most explorative process I've ever had as an actor, for sure. That's geeky actor talk. But that said, it is weird. I mean, as an actor, like, you know, there's a little meme going around. There's a little Vine video going around of Betsy running for the money. Like, that's crazy to me. I'm used to, like, flying a little more below the radar, you know? I'm used to, like, showing up and hopefully doing good work and going on to my next gig. So it's exciting. It's really nice that people have latched on to Betsy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, we interviewed Ray Seahorn, and she went
She's great.
She was awesome. Yeah, she was super cool with us and like understood like where we're at and joked around with us. I think she dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah.
And she detailed her audition process and how elaborate it was, and it's like multi-tiered, and they kind of kept like the character names were hidden but they used the real dialogue and stuff like that. Was your audition process anything like that? Or did they ask you to be on? How was that come about?
Mine wasn't as multi-tiered as Ray's was, because she's a series regular on the show, and my character was originally hired just as a guest star, and then we wound up recurring because they liked what we were doing. So my character's name was Mrs. Philpott in the original size, which I thought was really funny.
Kind of appropriate, filling pots.
Yeah, and the scene was it wasn't the actual scene from the first episode. It was something that sort of lent itself to that. So we were in a diner talking to someone, but it wasn't a lawyer. It was about something we did wrong or not did wrong. I mean, it lent to that, but it wasn't an actual scene from the script. So I think they were super careful from the beginning, not to release anything that they thought would give anything away, even for my character. And I have to be honest with you, when I read it as like a 50-year-old Aunt B. Like, when I read it, I was like, oh, my God, I'm such a giant Breaking Bad fan, and I am not right for this. Like, I read it, and I was like, So when I auditioned, I put myself on tape in New York for it, because I was in New York at the time. And when I auditioned, I thought, well, I'll just make this work on me, and hopefully they'll see me for something else down the road. Like, I thought I had no shot whatsoever at Betsy. So it was a big surprise. And then they passed my tape around. So I did it and sort of walked away from it. And then 3 weeks later, I got a phone call that they wanted me to do it, to play the role. So that was kind of shocking to me. That happens every now and then when you're an actor. But I really did not think I was right for it when I read it. But I do now.
Yeah, so you pulled it off. And I mean, maybe, I guess, geeking out on it, it worked for whatever you did, because you have fans.
It became something else. Like, when they cast me, it morphed into something else. So I'm not sure what Vince saw and Peter saw that made them go, yeah, that. But and it just wasn't quite how I read it in my head. But I'm grateful that they did, and it became something else in the first episode, and then it continued to evolve as we went episode to episode throughout the season. We got really lucky that they were willing to sort of redo their idea of what what the Kettlemans were going to be. They weren't ever supposed to be quite as involved in the story as they were. So I'm grateful for that.
That's fascinating because we always just thought like it's such a natural fit as part of Jimmy's evolution to go through what he went through with the Kettlemans.
Yeah.
You know.
What was your
Right. Well, that's one of my favorite things about Betsy is that she is both Jimmy's first corruption and Mike.
Oh, that's
Like,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's not, well, I guess Mike in the past was sort of a corrupt cop, but like in his life
Albuquerque,
now,
though, right?
Yeah, that's right. She's like his first, quote, sort of illegal job that he takes. And I love that about her. I love that she looks like, you know, a Midwestern housewife of some kind and has that weird, bizarre smile going on until you really piss her off. And then she winds up, it's not Nacho that corrupts them, it's her.
Yeah.
When I read 104, I was like, oh, great, because that's the episode with the scene where she bribes Jimmy with the cash. And I just loved it so much. I was like, please don't let this get changed. It's amazing. Yeah.
What was your reaction when you're going about your daily business, and what was your reaction when you get the phone call and they're like, hey, you got the part, like this is you? How did you react to that?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys something I haven't told anybody.
Awesome.
It's
all good, man.
When I got the phone call, I was at the time I was getting ready to direct a one-person show in New York, and we didn't have any money. And it had like 32 costumes in the show. So I was shopping at Salvation Army for, was I at Goodwill? No, I was at Goodwill. I was shopping at a Goodwill when my agent called me to tell me I got the part. Like, I was standing in a Goodwill in a terrible neighborhood with a giant cart full of, like, Goodwill clothes that I thought would work for the show. And so I like go into the corner of the Goodwill and they're like, you can't tell anybody. So I couldn't even say out loud what the show was. I couldn't even say, oh my God, I got Better Call Saul. They're like, you can't say anything because I was in public. Like, it was one of the most bizarre experiences. It felt like out of the Twilight Zone, you know?
Yeah, Dave.
It was amazing.
Dave and I, every once in a while, will get like a good review on iTunes, and we geek out. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine when people that are doing like actual stuff, like it's the good call. You know, like I'll text Dave. I'll be like, we got 4 out of 5 stars.
It's so funny that Ray's story was hilarious. Also about when she found out, I was like, is that all they do is like find a way to make you guys geek out, or like,
right? Yeah, like
drop
catch you at
it
the
on,
most inopportune time.
I mean, it's such there was such Breaking Bad was such an iconic show, and Vince and Peter and all those guys, they're such amazing filmmakers, period. Like, they could be doing movies, they could be doing whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And for somebody to call you and say, Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould picked you, I mean, that moment is huge as an actor. I mean, it's really validating, it's really nice. And I also, like, when they told me, I said, the Mrs. Philpott part? I got the Mrs. Philpott part. They're like, don't say the character name. I was like, isn't it fake? Can I say the fake character name? I was like, are you sure I got that part? Can you call them back and make sure that that's the part? It's not another part? Like, I couldn't, it was a lot. It was, I couldn't believe it. And the idea of I had such a lucky year. I sort of went from Fargo to Better Call Saul, and who gets to do that as an actor? Like, who gets to play in those worlds as an actor? Who gets to say that was my year? I couldn't believe it. It was great. And I was at Goodwill. Yeah.
You touched earlier about how you and Jeremy Seamus developed the characters. I believe I heard somewhere that you guys would actually go, but you mentioned like sending videos, but didn't you guys actually go out around town as the Kettlemans and kind of develop the characters?
Well, we didn't set out to go around town as the Kettlemans. We wound up, we would always fly in and fly out together, right? So we would get checked into the hotel and then call each other and say, you want to go to the grocery store? And we'd go to the grocery store and share a cart, and it would become some weird Kettleman act. Like, everything became, and we'd be like, you want to go to breakfast at the Sunrise Eggs place? And it would morphed into some weird Kettleman relationship thing. So it was, I mean, we would wind up at the macaroni grill for dinner as some, I don't want to say fully as the Kettlemans, because that would be just horrible for any waitress, right? Yeah. But it would always morph into like us sort of dorkily walking around as the Kettlemans.
We were,
so I think, yeah, I mean, the nature of how we shot, I think it helped us too. It was a very symbiotic relationship. And I never felt like, whenever I got a script, I never felt like I had her. Like I had really stepped back into Betsy's skin until I was with Jeremy running the lines. Or with Jeremy improvising.
Dave and I were talking before we got on the phone with you. How funny it'd be if you guys did like a YouTube series where you guys, as the Kettlemans, just go out into like everyday life, and the way that like Betsy is so domineering over Craig, and have somebody film like real people's reactions to this woman that's completely in control and like pulling the strings of her husband all day.
That would be hilarious, right? But you would stay on, keep the camera on the people reacting to it, right?
Yeah.
So they would be, what is happening?
I know we only have a few more minutes with you, but one of the things we also wanted to ask was, you mentioned before the scene where Mike comes in and steals the money, and then as the camera pans out, you're kind of admonishing the kids because they find like some of the money on the toy truck. Was that actually scripted dialogue that the audience just couldn't hear, or were you just like riffing off the top of your head and making the motion so it picks up on camera?
They gave us that it was never intended to actually be heard, that dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us like 2 pages of what they called pocket dialogue, and just said, this is a jumping off place. Talk about something like this. So we sort of started from there, and then it just became completely improvisational. And Jeremy actually was hilarious. I hope someday they release the DVD. I mean, the part where he came in with the money and we're talking to each other, he was like, I accused him of playing with it. He accused me of wanting to spend. I mean, there was a whole elaborate 3-act play going on inside that house. That the sound guys, only the sound guys were privy to, and they were laughing. So they were hiding in the corner laughing. It was great.
Well, I hope we get to hear that sometime.
Yeah, we did. Peter Gould has joked around that because we also did, the Kettlemans were so, the headspace is so specific that it's not, you don't easily flow in and out of it. And, or their thought process is so specific. And so we would improvise into and out of scenes. So when they would say rolling before action was said, we would start like improvising with each other. I think that started in the first episode in the law firm. I started tucking in Jeremy's shirt. Like it's stuff that we'll never ever see. And then if there was a break in between things, we would improvise in between, like in the scene of 107 in the diner, Bob. They rolled that whole scene as one scene. So he did the scene with him, and then he would walk out through the long shot and then come back in. So as if he had been on the phone in the bathroom, and then come back, and we improvised through that. And it was mostly an effort. It was mostly an effort just to stay in character with each other. And Peter Gould has joked that they want to make a DVD extra out of it. I hope they do. It was really funny.
I hope
really
they do.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't intended necessarily to be funny. That wasn't our goal. It was our goal just to sort of be the Kettlemans. But the Kettlemans are so screwed up and so funny. So it was interesting. We did a lot of improvisation with each other to sort of find who they were and what their relationship together was.
Do you think we'll see any of the Kettlemans in season 2?
I can tell you that if it made sense in the story, I would move heaven and earth to make that happen. Peter Gould has said in 2 different interviews, one on Deadline, and I think one in the Hollywood Reporter, that they're writing season 2 right now, and the Kettlemans they have a sideboard of characters they'd like to see show up, and the Kettlemans are at the top of that list. So I think that would be awesome. I think the purpose of the show is, how does Jimmy McGill become Saul Goodman? So if it can serve that purpose, that would be great. I would love to not be done playing Betsy Kettleman. I would love to stand in her shoes for a while longer. I would love to see what she does when a man she now clearly hates takes away her money, her home, and her ability to feed her kids because she has no job. So I would love to see what happens next with her. You know, I mean, she has no job, and they just took all of her money, and they just put her husband in jail. Like, I'm in the fantasy of my little mind. I am fascinated by what happens next to her.
Well, I hope we all get to see what happens next. And just to wrap it up, our last question is, what is your favorite frozen pizza?
What is my favorite frozen pizza?
Yeah.
DiGiorno.
Oh, okay.
DiGiorno cheese. Except for you gotta cook it till the crust is like crunchy, right? And then you gotta put extra cheese on top of it.
Oh.
Like you gotta get some shredded cheese. You gotta use some shredded cheese and like add to it a lot.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, congrats on a great first season. You did wonderful things in the show. I hope we see more of the Kettlemans. Maybe we can have you back sometime during or after season 2. You always have an open invitation.
Yeah, if you have any other projects you'd like to promote.
Thank you. I would love that.
Yeah, and thank you so much for hanging out with Dave and I today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking a little Kettleman action.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you, guys.
Best of luck. Thank you.
You better call quick. Saul, Saul, you better call Saul. He'll fight for your rights when your back's to the wall. Stick it to the man, justice for all.